course. But Doug Allison, should I call you the longtime head coach? I don't want to make you feel old or anything, but
thanks a lot.
Get that up a little closer.
I think I'm the longest serving coach here now. I believe, Scarpa's gone, hasn't he? Coach Scarpa. Yeah, he's still gone. All right, making sure. But,
gone, but not forgotten.
No, never forgotten. He was my old kind of roommate right next door to me when I first came in. So I think I'm the longest one here now, but still enjoying it. So it's been great.
And that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
I talked with Andrew yesterday, and he's been here a while, not quite as long as you have, but as long as you're still having fun with it and it's still a joy to come to work every day.
Yeah. Well, this setting, as we're looking out upon this Paris Mountain over there, and just having the kids we have, the student athletes at Furman we have, is you come to work every day with them, and they come to work with you, but they're trying to achieve high things when they leave here, and you've got to guide them through this whole thing. So.
Well, your soccer program has made it a habit of achieving quite high and lofty status. Your program is always one of the best in the conference. It's one of the best in the country. You've been in and out of the top 25 a number of times since I've been here. People start to expect that out of you, right?
Yeah, and I don't mind that. That's okay. That's why I came here, and I think we've been in the top 25 just about every year since I've been here, and one capacity, even breaking the top 10 a few times, and there were certain teams. But more importantly, you end up having the public recognition of having a really good, strong academic group of kids, and them graduating. Actually, most of them early now, around Christmas time, and going into internships, going into jobs, going into professional soccer as well. They seem to succeed in every arena they go in right now, and that's the most important thing. I mean, being in the top 25 is just a figure. You can be in and out of there, very quickly.
Well, what does it mean? Because you've had players over the years who've gone on to great professional careers and gone on to do things great professionally outside of soccer. But the flag bearer for Furman professionally right now is Clint Dempsey.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you personally? What does it mean to your program to have him as really the face of USA Soccer right now, and continuing to do what he's done since he left this university?
Well, it's just amazing. I mean, how well he's done, and particularly after having the heart murmurs and the surgery he had last year kind of hampered him, and we didn't know if he'd come back. But I mean, he had his 4 kids tested and make sure that they're okay as well. And to come back at the level he came back, and then to be scoring those goals in the highest level again, is just a testament to him as a competitor. And we didn't know. I mean, I saw him in preseason down in Charleston with Seattle when they're down there, and you turn around and he's still like the little kid, in the Paladin, when he's coming through, and he's got that flash in his eye. But then he gets on the field, and he is the most competitive person I've ever been around. And he wants to succeed. He wants to. You saw him when he was taken off the field by Bruce Arena in that one game, and he was not happy to come off the field. And then the next game, the coach dealt with it. But then the next game, he scores another goal. Now he's tied the Landon Donovan's record, and hopefully he'll break it pretty soon. And to have the guy that has the most goals in history for the U.S. is unbelievable. And it's great to have that. What's even more important is Walker Zimmerman's in the locker room with him now on the full U.S. national team. He's playing for FC Dallas, and he got his first cap against Jamaica, was player of the game, and they sent me a picture from the locker room before, just texted me a little picture with thumbs up of the 2 Furman guys, which is really cool. So we obviously framed that, So to have 2 guys in that locker room on the full national team is amazing. One who's in the twilight of his career, who is up there and very well respected worldwide.
Right.
And another one who's just coming through. It was nice of Clint to put his arm around him and say, come, you're part of this.
And Clint hopefully will impress upon Walker the importance of continuing to maintain the relationship with this program and giving back and doing the things that he's done over the years. Yeah,
he's always wanted to come back. Hopefully one day he will be able to come back. He just seems to be everywhere else, which his time demands are amazing, and how he deals, has his 4 kids, and his wife's a Furman girl too. So his roots are strong here. But then Walker, every time, whenever Dallas finishes, he makes it a point to come back. He got married here New Year's Eve in Greenville as well, to a Furman girl as well. So the roots are deep. They all seem to be marrying well, Furman girls, and they're keeping them home. So it is great having those ties, and it's got to be, outside America and even getting into America, the biggest sport in the world, and to have him on that stage, and always representing Furman the right way is a nice thing.
Forrest?
Yeah, I guess so. It's like what is like your Ricardo Clarks, your Dempseys, your Walker Zimmermans, what have they done for your program, like hands-on specifically in the past few years?
Well, I mean, most of them are proponents of it, but when they see each other on the field, they always kind of recognize each other, get pictures. Alec Kahn's in goal for Atlanta United right now, which is good. We just got 2 kids signed from there, one on the roster now, another commitment, which I can't talk about, would be illegal, but in a couple of years. But Ricardo came back and played against for Houston against Atlanta in earlier on this summer, and my assistant Brett Bullware went down there, and they got a shirt and took a picture about Furman and all that kind of stuff. And they always make sure that they're always with the fans. They always make sure that they're talking to recruits.
Sure.
We remind them how important that is, because we recruited them too, and just to tell them the important points of Furman and how hard it is here academically and athletically. And if you want that challenge, this is a great place to be.
This is Doug Allison. He's the men's soccer coach here at Furman. So as we've kind of set the stage now about what's going on around the program, let's kind of focus in on this year. Preseason, you won both of your preseason games, including the win over number 2 Wake Forest. How do you approach these compared to a regular season game?
A lot of times differently, because you want to see a lot of things, trying to put a lot of freshmen in and see how it's going to go into the first game. The first game, we were only 5 days into preseason, so we didn't know. I was still learning names, and I was calling people different people. And Wake were doing the same thing. So the first half was very, very competitive. It was a great game. Second half, a little scrappy, because you're changing things up. You're trying to see different things. And the same with yesterday. We deliberately put it as a 4 o'clock game. It was boiling. It was completely unlike England that you've ever seen, and it was wilting, and that's going to be Charleston in a week or so. So we've got to put them in that environment, and putting young kids in at that, just to see the competitive level and the speed and the physicality of what it's like to be in college is really important. But they got 2 shutouts and performed well. I mean, the captains are really running a tight ship. Kevin Edelman and Kyle McLagan are running a tight ship. So. It's we'll see what we can do this year. Anytime you play the number 2 team in the country, you're going to be up against a good team. And they lost in the final on penalty kicks last year and brought a lot of kids back. But we defended very well, scored a nice goal, and then defended again.
How much responsibility do you give your captains?
A lot, particularly on game day. It's their day, and it's. Don't tell my buddy this, but it's typically not a coach's sport on game day. I wouldn't want to be manhandled on game day.
I can edit that comment out.
But he's during the week is my time. Come Saturday, that's what used to be in England. It was come Saturday, you need to prepare them for playing, because there's no timeouts. Halftime's the only adjustments you can make, or a couple of subs here and there, but typically they need to be able to adjust during a game, and I need to be able to teach them how to adjust. With a goal up, a goal down, a man up, a man down, the heat, the fact that you can actually invade the other team and pick them and hit them, and they can do the same to you. And the adjustments in a game have to come on the field. Now, we can make slight ones from the sideline, but they have to be able to do it during the game.
Preseason poll, your Paladins were picked 4th.
Yeah, I was surprised to be that high.
That sound about right to you?
No, I don't want to be anywhere near that.
Really?
I'd much rather be. Yeah, I want our guys to see that stuff and be like, oh, okay, that's okay. Preseason poll, Jordan Cassidy does a great job with that. He helps me out on that stuff. So, preseason to me is that's okay. Let's aim for the top at the end of the season. Let's be where we should be. And I'm glad we're 4th. That means a lot of the people in the conference don't know what we have, which is nice.
And 2 preseason all-conference selections, Josiah Baker and Kyle McLagan?
Yep. Yeah, and that's fine. We've got other guys on the team too. They're the ones you probably notice a little bit more. But it's a good little group this year. We've got some good additions. We've got a good goalkeeper back who was injured last year. Who in preseason he tore his ACL, and he was Ben Hale was on the under-19 national team. He was a very good goalie, but lost him for the year. So he's a freshman this year. So he went back to FC Dallas, rehabbed. He's back. He's hopefully back with the national team, but you'll see him in goal.
I get the idea that you're sandbagging a little bit with how good you think this team might be this year.
I don't know. It depends on my assistant coaches.
If I can use a golf term in a soccer interview.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, there was times even in the game yesterday where we were really, really good, and there's times like I don't know who was out there.
Yeah.
And that's preseason again. So what matters is we're playing a really, really tough schedule. I mean, we're not playing anything else but hard-nosed Division I teams, and then conference games where it's a pretty tough conference, to be fourth. But then we go out to Denver, who were in the top four. They lost to Wake Forest in the Final Four last year, and that was the first game they lost last year. And Air Force is always tough out there. So playing teams that we don't normally play, and it's a really, really tough schedule. I mean, anyone in men's soccer can beat anyone basically.
What do you expect out of the top teams in the conference from ETSU and Mercer? Obviously, they bring a host of players back from last year's teams that did pretty well.
Yeah, they got some NCAA experience, so they're going to be pretty high now. And we've had that for the last few years, but not last year. So they'll be riding pretty high. There's always competitive games. We actually haven't lost to ETSU in several years now. We tied them twice last year, and then we beat them 4. Mercer is give and take, and we've actually got the conference tournament here now, not at Mercer. So at the end of the year, we're hosting the conference tournament, which is going to be really good to see that in Greenville.
Absolutely.
But, no, those teams will be pretty confident, and Greensboro's always very good. Wofford's always very tough. I mean, there's 5 or 6 teams in there who could beat anybody. And look, ETSU beat Chapel Hill at Chapel Hill last year, if you remember, and we were number 1. So we've just beaten the number 2 team in the country. So the conference is a little underrated sometimes.
It's a pretty good talent.
Yeah, there's good talent.
In talking with Andrew yesterday, the women's team, 9 of their first 10 games are at home. 6 of your first 7 are on the road. And
we can't get on the field. Andrew won't let us on the field.
If I'm counting correctly, you only have 7 home matches.
Yeah, and then we got the conference tournament,
right,
which is good. So no, that they end up going home and away. But it was important to get that tournament out of Denver, RPI wise. We want to be in the top 20. So we've got to face those teams, and got an invite out there. So my new assistant, Brandon Tucker's from Denver. So it was good for him, and it was good for our Midwest guys. All their parents can go there very easily as well. So we got a lot of Kansas boys and Missouri boys, and their parents are all very happy to be going there for a little bit, and not always here. But I thought it was important to go and see someone that you don't usually see. And playing South Carolina and playing Conference USA teams, and then I want to prepare us for the conference regular season and tournament, because it's not easy.
Do you or are you satisfied that your non-conference schedule is going to give you what you need to prepare for the conference season?
It always does. I mean, there's not really an easy game. In men's soccer, there's no easy games. And then the following year, we don't play double round robin after next year. Belmont comes in the conference, and we play single games. So we can now start adding back Clemson's and Charlotte's and that kind of stuff. So you'll see it get tougher and tougher.
So last year, you kind of had a down year. You didn't have a winning record for the first time since 2004. How did that teach these upperclassmen to kind of respond in those tough times?
Hopefully you'll see. I mean, they came back in the spring and went unbeaten and played some really good teams. But now is where it has to happen again. I mean, we were great up to a certain point of the year last year. We beat Kentucky, who were number, I think, 8. We beat FIU, who were number 15. We beat some very good teams. And then, at the very end of the year, I mean, it was a couple of injuries. I don't want to make an excuse about that. I mean, we lost some games, and we've got to get better at that. I mean, we have to. And that's a challenge for all those older kids and the captains. They don't want to see that again. They're not used to that. So I'd like to see how they rebound.
We talked with Andrew yesterday about recruiting, and the vast majority of his players come from the southeast part of the United States. I know your net spreads quite a bit wider than that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like to have a few foreign kids. We've got some good connections in England. We're possibly bringing an Icelandic boy, which would be great for this weather. And
it worked out for Chris. Worked out for Chris Acox in the basketball team.
Yeah, he was the most un-Icelandic player I've ever seen. And I've played with some in South Carolina. We've had some here too, but for him, it always having that little foreign connection is good. I mean, Lewis Hawk is now playing pro in Australia and doing well. And we got a boy in this spring from Trinity, transferred in from England, from Manchester. There's Lewis Lawrence, who's come in as well. He'd be a junior. So, and then just having the Germans and a couple of guys like that it's nice for the locker room. And then, I mean, we've definitely got connections all over the country. We go after good players. So wherever they are, whatever fits our mold is very important.
Is the soccer, the level of play in the state of South Carolina, is it improving in your eyes?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's both clubs in this area, SASA and United FC, are doing very well. We've got a couple of SASA boys on the team now. The South Carolina kids are pretty good. I mean, Dan, honestly, it's expensive to be here. I mean, in-state tuition, there is none. It's private. And to be honest, I mean, this is not an easy school to get in. It's not an easy school to afford and obviously stay in. So there are other options for South Carolina kids.
Right.
And so it's the same to get a South Carolina kid as to get a Georgia kid or a North Carolina kid or a Missouri kid. It's the same. So why not spread your net a little bit more? And it's tough to get them in. I mean, your scholarships only go so far. So yeah, I don't mind. I'm going after the best players and the best students, and you can see with Andrew and ours record recently and I believe track with the academic success we're having too, the public recognition for these kids. Being male student athletes at Furman is not easy. And for them to have that grade point average and the retention rate and the graduation rate we have now is brilliant,
I got to ask you about this before we let you go, and we're continuing to visit with Doug Allison here on the Friday edition of the program. You're hired to win games. You're hired to mold young men and make them the best that they can be. But I recall the previous conversation that we had on this show back in, I guess it was maybe October of last year. Your goal with what you want out of your players is a lot loftier than just wins and losses.
Yeah, we've got a thing we call the standard, and it's very hard to explain within a couple of minutes. But when we set our guys' standards, and all with internships, all with job prospects, with further graduation rates and further education, that kind of stuff. And have Adrian McGinnis finish up here with the grades he had, and then now he's at Duke. Eric Stieber to finish up, now he's in law school, and I mean, just different things like that. Yeah, we have very high standards for these kids, and it's not just here; it's in the community. There's another thing we're trying to put into our program, that everyone has to have done a mission trip before they graduate here now. I've already got that ball rolling pretty far as well. So we're setting these standards, and the pillars that hold it up are very, very important. And maybe one day we can explain a little bit more, but it is something that we've established over the last 20 years here. And alumni are proud of it too, because they're doing it as well when they're away from here.
Right.
And it's something we have to remind them of all the time.
I can say this. I went on my first mission trip this past summer, and it will change your life. It will absolutely change your life.
Yeah.
My wife had done it 4 or 5 times to different places, but this was the first time I got a chance to join her in it. So if your kids are doing that, that's just another example of how well-rounded they are away from the field as well as what they do on the field.
Well, they'll be going to Haiti, and they're going to, you say sacrifice a spring break, but I don't think it's sacrificing anything. It's a great thing to do over your spring break, your sophomore year. You can have a couple other spring breaks somewhere else, but their sophomore year, they will be going to Haiti just about every year, every sophomore. And we've got a good friend of ours of the program who runs mission trips called Back to Back Ministries. And he could maybe come in and talk to you about that one day.
Would love to.
Jeff Coppins, he's great. He talked to the freshmen. We're raising money for that because these guys have got to raise money themselves to do it, which is another thing it's important to do. And then go on spring break over there and help some kids. Soccer's a universal language with a soccer ball. You can break a mold of any kid, and just seeing those kids come in and have nothing, and then all of a sudden their eyes light up when a soccer ball arrives. And then with Steve Spink's help, and we've helped Steve Spink's mom go to Africa every year with soccer balls and uniforms now. And the school that she supports, she's gone over there now. We've actually the Furman shirts to wear when they play other. They play the other ministries now, the other orphanages, and it's like there's a competitive orphanage league.
Nice.
Believe it or not, it's
awesome.
actually it's taken off.
And the Paladin brand
Yeah.
is well represented.
That's great.
That's fantastic. All right, as we close it out, we'll come back full circle. You open up a week from today at the College of Charleston.
Yeah.
What do you hope to accomplish? And I guess that's in a tournament to open things up.
Yeah.
The College of Charleston, and then 2 days later on Sunday, the 27th, Georgia Southern. What do you hope to accomplish between now and the opener, now that you've got your 2 exhibitions out of the way?
Well, one, we got to get through the eclipse, and then and all the people on campus. So we'll do that. And then we got to get into class on Tuesday, and then and just find out if we got the travel arrangements sorted out in hotels and stuff. So there's a lot to do. There's just a lot to do, but we obviously get away from the 2 wins we've had and then focus on down in Charleston on Friday. So got a week to prepare for that.
Sounds good. I want to try to do this every week if we can.
Yep. Yeah, I'm up for it. It'll be good. So
All right, good.
Find the little gaps in the schedules and we'll do it.
All right. That's Doug Allison, the men's soccer coach. Will be downloading this, cutting it out, and posting it on YouTube and retweeting it here, retweeting it with the school social media. So you can, if you miss part of it, you can go back and watch it again. Doug, thank you.
Dan, anytime. Thanks. I appreciate it.
All right, that'll wrap it up. After we get the trivia question answer, which probably
you might know this one.
And if you don't,
Yeah,
Mike Buddy might be a little
weary, if you will. Yeah.
Tell him the trivia
Thanks
question.
for not prepping me for that.
So the topic is from men's soccer, obviously, with Doug Allison here, and the question is, what year did the Paladins advance to the Elite Eight?
Ooh, that had to be 99.
He's got it right on the nose. Yep, he's got it.
Yeah.
Impressive stuff
It
there.
should have been the Final Four because Connecticut's goal was a handball. I still remember.
Really? Oh man.
Yeah, we were winning up there. And the Final Four was in Charlotte that year at Charlotte's football stadium, and we were 23-1, and the only team we lost to was Santa Clara. And if we'd have won, that was who we'd play in the Final Four. And the other 2 teams were Indiana and obviously Connecticut and UCLA. And so if we'd have won that, we'd play Santa Clara in the Final Four in Charlotte. I think Dr. Scheid already canceled the finals and all that and had buses already and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
So, but it was quite a year. We had some great players then and a really, really good group of guys. So I think I was about 15 when I was coaching. It's a long time ago.
So was that as the second coming of Diego Maradona in the hand of God?
Oh, yeah.
Was it?
I just saw it 30 for 30 on that. I still don't like him.
1999 was your answer, and he got it.
Yes, sir.
That is as close to an ambush as you'll ever get from
thanks
us.
a lot, guys. See you this time next year.
All right, that'll do it for us. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you again. Remember Tuesday, because we're not going to fight the eclipse. And I'll be at the doctor anyway. So we'll see you Tuesday morning, same time, same place for Forrest, for Coach Doug Allison. I'm Dan Scott saying God bless you, and so long, everybody.